She told me, if you're not interested, pay and leave. So I did. Walked out, left her with the bill, and watched her entire friend group turn on her when they realized I was done being the punchline, that I should have known the night was going to be a disaster the moment Mia said, "We're meeting my friends. They might be a little loud, but don't make it a thing." Whenever someone says don't make it a thing, it's because it's going to be a thing. Still, I tried. I really did. Mia and I had been dating for almost a year. She was social, impulsive, charming, and exhausting in equal measure. I'm quieter, the type who actually reads the menu instead of taking pictures of it. She always joked that her friends were extra, but I never imagined how extra until that night. We met at this new tapas place her friend group was obsessed with. It was one of those restaurants that prides itself on being energetic, which is code for so loud you have to yell to order water. I walked in and immediately spotted them. For women already mid-story about someone named Brent, champagne flutes half empty and voices half screamed. Mia slid into her seat next to them, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Baby, catch up. We've already ordered sangria." Her friends sized me up like I was a substitute teacher. The first hour was chaotic but manageable. They talked over each other, knocked utensils off the table, filmed everything for Instagram, and kept bringing up ex-boyfriends they low-key missed even though they were trash. Whatever. I knew this was her world. I didn't need to like everything she liked. But then one of them, Tara, started her antics. I don't know how else to describe it. She was drunk, loud, and hitting on literally every male server who walked by. At first it was harmless, until she started making explicit jokes, grabbing one guy's forearm like she was choosing steak at a butcher shop. I glanced at Mia, waiting for her to rein Tara in. She didn't. Instead, she laughed like it was peak comedy. Then she said loudly, so everyone at the table could hear, "Ugh, he's getting all judgy again." Her friends nodded like synchronized bobbleheads. Tara pointed her straw at me. "Let her live. You're such a buzzkill." Buzzkill. Great. The same label Mia had thrown my way when I suggested she stop posting drunk TikToks at 3 a.m. I tried brushing it off, but then Tara took it further. She leaned back, raised her glass, and said loudly, "Honestly, Mia, if he's not into the energy tonight, he can pay and leave." They all laughed. I didn't. Mia smirked, actually smirked, and said, "Yeah, if you're not vibing, babe, you can pay and leave." I stared at her. She doubled down. Her friends watched like they were waiting for another punchline. What Mia didn't realize was that by that point, I'd spent months tiptoeing around her moods, her jokes that weren't jokes, her public digs that everyone knew were funny. And something about that line, something about her letting her friends disrespect me while I picked up the check. It flipped a switch. I calmly placed my napkin down, stood up, and said, "Thanks for saying all this." Mia blinked. Her friends' faces froze mid-laugh. I reached into my pocket, grabbed my keys, and walked straight out of the restaurant. No theatrics, no raised voice, just gone. Behind me, I heard confused noises, laughter turning into wait, what? Then frantic footsteps. Because reality hit them all at the exact same time. I was the one paying for the meal, and the bill was already on the table. I walked out the door without looking back. Mia didn't call right away. I think at first she genuinely believed I was joking, that I'd circle the block, cool off, and come back to play the role she'd slowly assigned me over the past year. The patient boyfriend, the wallet, the buzzkill, who put up with everything. But by the time I pulled into my driveway, her texts were coming in nonstop. At first playful. "Okay, funny, come back." Then annoyed. "Seriously? You're being dramatic." Then increasingly panicked. "The bill is like $280. They said they can't split it this late. Can you please just come back and pay it? We look insane." I didn't respond to a single one. And honestly, that silence felt better than anything I could have said. I took a long shower, changed into clean clothes, and brewed coffee. Every so often my phone buzzed on the counter like an insect desperate for attention. When I finally checked it, Mia had sent a wall of messages, confusion turning into anger, then embarrassment, then accusations. "You're humiliating me. I can't believe you'd leave us like that. A real man wouldn't walk out. So now you're punishing me because my friends were having fun?" But then came the one that showed her night had actually collapsed. "Tara is crying because her card got declined and everyone is mad." I almost laughed. Not because I enjoy people suffering. I don't. But because for once, They were experiencing the consequences they kept handing me without a second thought. Later that night, Mia finally called. I let it ring. Then she called again and again until eventually my voicemail filled up with a messy spiral of emotions. At some point, her bravado cracked. Her voice in one voicemail wasn't angry anymore. It was small. "Can you at least talk to me? Why did you say thanks for saying all this? What did you mean?" I sat on the couch listening to that one twice. What did I mean? I meant, thank you for finally confirming who you really are. Thank you for showing me I'm not crazy for feeling disrespected. Thank you for reminding me what it feels like to choose myself. Thank you for giving me the final push I hadn't known I needed. Her friends, apparently, weren't as loyal as she thought. At around midnight, she texted. Even the girls said I shouldn't have said that. They're mad too. Of course they were. They were stuck with a bill they assumed I'd pay just because I always did. The next day, she came to my place unannounced, knocking nonstop, calling my name like she expected me to cave the moment I heard her voice. I didn't open the door. Eventually, she texted, "I don't understand why you're doing this." But she did. She just didn't want to face it. What she didn't know was that the night before, after her messages turned ugly, something inside me finally settled. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't a bump in the relationship. It was the pattern. It was her. She had spent a year treating me like a safety net, a bank card, an emotional punching bag she could playfully insult and then brush it off with, "You know I'm kidding." But that night, she wasn't kidding. Her friends weren't kidding. And the laughter on their faces, the kind that thrives on belittling someone who's too patient to push back, told me everything. It wasn't a joke. I was the joke. 3 days passed before Mia stopped trying to contact me. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. She eventually ran out of excuses to keep reaching out. On the fourth day, she sent one last message. "I guess you really don't care." I typed, deleted, retyped, deleted again. There was so much I could have said, but in the end, I just replied, "I finally care about myself." And that was it. No explosion, no dramatic breakup scene, just clarity and the freedom that follows when someone shows you exactly who they are and you finally believe them. Update that I didn't plan on posting an update this soon, but wow. The fallout from that dinner has been so much messier than I expected. So after I walked out of the restaurant and left my ex and her two friends with the bill, I got in my car, drove home, and blocked her number for the night. Not permanently, just long enough for me to cool off and for her to sit with the reality that "if you don't like my friend's antics, you can pay and leave" line wasn't the power move she thought it was. By the next morning, I had 6 voicemails, 3 from her, 3 from unknown numbers, which turned out to be her friends. I only listened to the first one she left. She didn't sound angry. She sounded confused, like she genuinely couldn't grasp how her behavior, or her friend's behavior, had crossed any lines. It was all, "Why would you ditch me? You embarrassed me in front of my friends. You made such a big deal out of nothing." Nothing. Right. Around noon, she showed up at my apartment, not knocking, pounding, demanding that I come talk like an adult. I didn't open the door. I just told her through the door that I wasn't interested in having a conversation where she'd twist everything into my fault. She called me dramatic, told me I owed her an explanation, and then, my personal favorite, "You're seriously going to end things over a joke that my friend made? You're so sensitive." That line made everything click for me. For months, I'd felt like I was slowly shrinking. Not physically, but like I wasn't allowed to react, or feel anything, or push back. Her friends would make snide comments, she'd laugh, and if I said something, I was the problem. If I didn't play along, I was boring. If I didn't accept the jokes, I was uptight. If I didn't want to hang with the friends who treated me like a walking punchline, I was not supportive. The restaurant incident wasn't isolated. It was the moment where the mask slipped completely. Anyway, after she realized I wasn't opening the door, she tried the guilt angle. Then the anger. Then the tears. Then the fine. "Do whatever you want. You're ruining this." Then finally she left. But here's where the story gets interesting. Her friend, the one who kept saying obnoxious stuff during dinner and ultimately set off the whole situation, DM'd me on Instagram later that night. And she wrote something I genuinely never expected. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize how bad we made you feel. We went too far. She shouldn't have spoken to you like that." I had to read it twice. And before you ask, no, this wasn't flirting, no weird vibe. It was just an actual, unprompted apology from someone who never apologizes to anyone. Ever. That told me everything I needed to know. Even her friends realized she crossed a line. I haven't spoken to my ex since. I haven't unblocked her. But according to a mutual acquaintance, she's been venting nonstop and telling everyone that I abandoned her in a restaurant to humiliate her. Which is funny, because all I did was exactly what she told me to do. Pay and leave. More soon if anything else unfolds. Final update. A week has passed, and I think this is the cleanest ending the situation could have possibly had, though not in the way my ex expected. First, I never unblocked her. Not out of spite, but because every instinct told me that reopening that door would just drag me back into a cycle where I'd be arguing with someone who never listens, never reflects, and never takes responsibility. I didn't want drama. I wanted distance. But even with her blocked, the drama still found its way to me. 3 days after my last update, I ran into one of our mutual acquaintances, someone who's neutral, not part of her friend group. He gave me a rundown of what's been happening on her side, and honestly, it confirmed that walking out of that restaurant was the smartest thing I've done all year. Apparently, after I left, she and her friends made a huge scene trying to convince the restaurant staff that I was coming back. When the staff realized I wasn't, they presented the bill again, and the friends turned on her. According to the acquaintance, the exact words were, "Girl, you told him to pay and leave. He left. How is that his fault?" She tried to argue that men should know those things are jokes, and one of her friends apparently said, "It wasn't a joke. It was cruel." The same friend who apologized to me privately. After paying the bill, split 3 ways because karma is poetic, my ex spent the rest of the night ranting about how I embarrassed her, left her stranded, and blew one tiny comment out of proportion. No self-reflection, no accountability, just the same pattern I'd seen for months. Everything is someone else's fault. The next twist came 2 days later, when I got a long email from her. Since she was blocked everywhere else, email was the only way through. I didn't respond, but I read it, mostly out of curiosity. The email started with her usual tone. "You handled this terribly. You humiliated me." But then it shifted into guilt tripping. "I was having a bad week. You should have understood." Then into deflection. "My friends didn't mean anything by it." Then finally into desperation. "I miss you. Can we talk? Please don't throw away what we had." It was a lot. But what struck me most was that nowhere, not once, did she acknowledge what she actually said. "If you're not interested in my friend's antics, you can pay and leave." She wanted the outcome without the accountability. I didn't reply, and that silence, apparently, is what finally made everything snap. The acquaintance told me she's now convincing herself, and anyone who will listen, that I must have been cheating because no normal man leaves a relationship that fast. It's wild how someone can rewrite reality that quickly. As for me, honestly, I feel lighter. Like someone untied a knot I didn't even realize had been tightening for months. I've spent the last week focusing on myself, cooking at home, meeting with friends who don't insult me for entertainment, even going to a stupid trivia night where nobody mocked my answers. The peace is noticeable. The absence of tension in my shoulders is noticeable. The quiet is nice. And here's the part one didn't expect. I don't feel lonely. Not even a little. It's amazing how much space opens up in your life when the wrong person leaves it. There's no big dramatic twist ending. No grand reconciliation. No surprise betrayal. Just a simple truth I wish I'd learned sooner. When someone shows you they're comfortable belittling you in public and thinks you should laugh along, they're not your partner. They're your audience, and you're the punchline they plan to use forever. Walking out wasn't the end of something good. It was the beginning of something better.